Hello and welcome. My name's Tim and this is Jerwin, and this is the first episode of the Notion in Practice podcast.
Notion in Practice is a podcast for you, whether you're a Notion power user, founder, operator, or even just want to get your toes wet into some of the latest features, whether it's AI, which we will cover in this first episode. What else are we covering, Tim?
So we'll explore a little bit about Notion AI, a little bit about my story and how I first started using Notion. And we're always going to do that. We're going to try and tell stories of people who are using the product and explore particular use cases. We feel like there's a lot of content around that shows you how to use Notion, explains sort of how it works, but not so much about how it works in the real world, in practice. So we're always going to dive deep on those fronts. We would love to hear from you about what you're looking for. And thanks for joining us for this first episode.
Notion AI agents, I think, is probably the top of mind at the moment. Where have you been seeing the most use cases with it?
One of the things that's happened with it that I didn't realize was so important. We've all been using AI for a couple of years, and I don't think I quite understood how significant context was to the AI process. You sort of knew, you have to supply ChatGPT with, some understanding of what you're working on to get good outcomes. But the new agentic features in Notion sit on top of all of our data that's in there. And one of the big things for me over the years has been about structuring your data so that you can be organized. And now all of a sudden AI just loves that. It just, suddenly knows everything about my clients and my work and how it all fits together. So I have been building these sort of agent workflows to just help me run the business, doing things like writing proposals or qualifying leads or following up meetings, all those kind of, busy work type things. Now I'm able to get an agent to do it for me because it sees all that information and I just give it some good instructions and away it goes. So that's been amazing personally, but lots of fun exploring what it looks like for clients who are in, a bunch of different scenarios, use cases.
Yeah, right. So you're seeing adoption across the board, essentially. And even you're seeing yourself, like, I'm going to say this is what saved you so many hours of filling in databases and finding information. Now you can just sort of ask this bad boy right here.
I think it's changed the way people see the value in a tool like Notion. Beforehand, people were coming to me saying, we want to get ourselves organized. We want to build systems in Notion. Mm-hmm. Now people are coming saying, we want to leverage AI in Notion. And the answer is kind of still the same. You still have to build the structure and you still have to build the systems.
Yeah.
But the end result that you get out of it is much greater than it was before.
Yeah, right. I feel like recently it's just, you're hearing so much about AI. But I feel like adoption isn't there yet. The agentic AI and Notion AI agents are so new. And that's why it's really interesting to see it from your firsthand, and I'm very excited to see hopefully some of the guests that you bring on, maybe the guests that I bring on, and just sort of pick their brains. What are they using it for?
Sort of at this point where we're just limited by our imaginations.
Yeah.
The technical capabilities of the tool are not what's stopping us doing, more and interesting and different things. So every now and again I'll come across an idea or a scenario. I reckon AI could probably help. Like the other day, I was reading an article about prompting, and you, constantly finding great things on the web. Someone really smart's written a great article, and you think, that's so good. But you know what's going to happen. You're going to read it, you're going to share it with a friend or whatever, and then you're going to forget about it, and you won't do anything with it, and that'll be it.
It's gone into the abyss, yeah.
It's disappeared, And then I realized, okay, I'm playing with the custom agents that are still in alpha, so they're not released yet, but they're coming soon, and we're allowed to sort of talk about them a little bit. So one of the things that I did with this custom agent was I said, all right, here's this article. It's got 12 different approaches to prompting in it that I don't know yet. I want you every day to create a task in my system in Notion, make it due today, assign it to me, and make it the next thing I need to learn from that article. And so the custom agent has the resource and sort of understands the resource because it's an LLM. And then creates a task for me and then I have to go and do the task. And if I don't mark it as complete, then the AI the next night just goes, oh, he hasn't done it, slacker, and it doesn't do anything. But then if I mark the task as complete, in the task, sorry, it's given me like an activity to do and tried to explain, what I'm meant to learn. And then I'm meant to make notes, and then I, mark it as done. And then the AI kind of assesses it and gives me some feedback, and either gives me the next task that it makes up from this article for me to help me learn the next thing, or says, actually, sorry, Tim, you didn't get this. Have another crack at it. And so that's just been happening for the last sort of 2 weeks. I've only done sort of 3 or 4 of the tasks because life gets in the way. But, it's a way that like a custom agent has been able to facilitate a process in my life that, I wanted, but I wasn't going to do on my own. And I'm just getting this sort of slow feedback, learning this piece. But honestly, it wasn't a complicated thing to do to build a custom agent. I just talked to the AI about it and said, this is what I want to do. What do you think? And we tweaked it a little bit, and now it's running.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You're going to have to give us a demo use case. I think that'd be so interesting to see how you set that up, but then also to see it in practice also. But obviously we don't want to see the other stuff that we can go into, is like the PII.
We're not totally allowed to screen share it and demo it all yet, but I mean, you can do really similar things with personalized instructions. But that like it's working away in the background while you're asleep piece, that's especially cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's sort of like a superpowered agent that's working while you're sleeping, which I think is a dream.
Yeah, it does
to
feel
know
to
tasks
me
are being
like
done while you're sleeping. It's
get the robots to do it for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It does feel like what we're seeing in Notion, this implementation of AI in Notion, it is the promise of agents. Like we've all been hearing about, I don't know how long, maybe 12 months. People have been talking about agentic AI and agents. Going to be able to do this, going to be able to do that. But it felt like it was the domain of people who are great with tools like N8N and Zapier and Make and all those things to go away and cobble together.
Technical, smart people.
Which is not most people, right? I mean, most people, I'm sure, are smart enough to do it, but haven't built that expertise. Yeah. And so it was always, like, oh, it might be possible to do this, but you're going to need some super nerd to help you pull it off. Yeah. Whereas the implementation in Notion, you can just talk to that agent and ask it to help write some instructions, and then just slowly and surely build up a set of instructions that actually work for you and get it to do real world work.
Yeah, you're more likely to get things done. And I think I suffer from, like, I remember when I was watching How to Upskill on N8N and build out these agentic AI flows when it first came out. And there's one thing, it took me a whole day to build it. And then I realized, like, once you do build it, there's a lot of work that comes into maintaining it. They're maintaining those systems, right? And the number one philosophy with AI agents that I learned was to keep it simple, keep the use case simple. But if the more you overcomplicate things, the more it becomes this whole web of analysis paralysis. Like, you just spend so much time making it look pretty, making like, oh, look, this is an awesome graph that you made. But at the end of the day, it's just checking an email, sending it, and then putting it into a Excel spreadsheet. It's like, now you can do that essentially if with basic better prompting. You have an AI agent to help you with that, and it's simple and it's done. It's essentially what you were doing with that custom
that's right
agent you built. So it's insane.
We should definitely have some episodes, maybe even, I was thinking like a series of episodes where we interview some people who are running businesses that are starting to use the agentic features. Like, I've been working with some venture capital firms, and they're adopting it quite strongly because it can be a really useful tool for helping them, look at inquiries or do screening processes or help them gather up data from reporting. And so I think, if we could get some people like that to come along and share how they're using it, that might give, viewers, listeners, kind of some ideas about what it would look like in their own worlds.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. That's. I mean, we're workshopping as we're talking to the audience about what this podcast is. So, guys, if you have any suggestions of what you also want us to cover, just let us know in the comments. Like, we are going to build this Notion in Practice podcast based on what the community says.
One of the things I would like to do is be useful. I would like this to be a resource for people where they can see, okay, yeah, the topic, they're spending some time focusing on automations, and they're talking to a law firm who's built out a series of automations. That's going to be relevant to my world. I'll listen to that and steal some ideas. And because I think the template piece in Notion, to me, always has run a little bit counter to the spirit of Notion. But the spirit for me is around, you can build your own tools. What's the tagline? Beautiful tools for your life's work, or something like that. Probably misquoting it, but when you pick up someone else's template, you really are adopting someone else's tools, someone else's way of working. And so I've always felt like the biggest value of Notion is that you can craft tools around your unique approach and way of working. Yeah. And so I think what we want to do is inspire people to do that, give them useful insights about how to do that. And sometimes you need to see it in practice. So I think we'll do like a bit of screen sharing to kind of show off what we're talking about, and if people are happy to demo their stuff. But yeah, also, walk through, this is how you might actually use that tool. Less, this is how it works and this is what this button does, and more, you could use it, in this scenario, or you could solve this problem with it.
Yeah, actually, the story behind this beautiful AI agent here was, I was in Korea and I was with Ise. She's a Notion ambassador in Korea. So shout out to Ise if you're listening to this. And in order for me to tell her story, there was a huge language barrier. And so essentially I was lucky because I just got access to Notion AI, and in particular the recording feature. And so as we were talking, it was actually translating what she was saying in Korean into English. And I was like, oh my gosh, this has just opened up a whole different conversation. And she was just telling me how she, started using Notion at the pinnacle of her portfolio business. So she was a marketer. And this might segue into me telling Isai's story. So maybe we'll have her in as a guest going forward.
We should.
But yeah, it just enabled me to be able to understand and communicate with her, and vice versa. And that's a use case in itself, right? And then by the end of that conversation, I was recording it with my awesome Notion AI agent, and it gave me a summary. It gave me, and I could ask it questions based on the transcript. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, am I right to say it this way? And I gave it access to like cultural norms and double checking like to the Korean standard.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, I wouldn't have been able to do this in less than 10 minutes. It would have taken me a whole day, half day to do the research myself.
Oh, yeah.
Here I am just talking to an AI agent that has, I think the model it was using was Claude, and it was like grabbing everything, hey, you should consider this. And I was just chatting to it and workshopping with it. By the end of it, I had an article I sent to her, and she was like, I'm so honored you're telling my story, and you're telling it with so much accuracy, or like you're telling it well. I was like, oh, it's me, but then it's also, I wouldn't be able to understood most of it if it wasn't for the AI agent translating in real time Korean to English and then capturing info.
The translation feature is just amazing. Because it's pretty close to real time. I had this experience. I've been working with a client in Hong Kong. They do sort of really high end furniture. And so import from all over the world, and they got a bunch of really interesting clients. Anyway, so chatting to this guy, and he speaks wonderful English, which is good because I had no chance. And he picked up the phone and started talking, turns out, to his mum. And so he switched into Cantonese, and he's chatting away to his mum, and I'm looking at the transcript, this like rolling out on the thing next to me, and it's translating, and so they're like Chinese characters, and then they switch into English. So I'm seeing
so you had the similar experience, right? Anyway, I was like,
but I felt really bad to start with. I was like, this is he thinks this is a private phone conversation, even though because he assumes I can't speak the language. And then he got off the phone, and I said, he was talking about something about his mum's cooking, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
do you like that dish?" And he's like, "What are you
He's like,
talking about?" I was like,
he's like,
"You got
you
to
can
see the
understand?
transcript to this call." It was unreal. Yeah, yeah.
That is insane. Yeah,
No,
wow.
very cool.
I really want to understand the smooth ops consulting piece. Like, how did you find Notion? What was your story, Tim? You mentioned it in a previous podcast that I was listening to, but I feel like it only makes sense for you to tell it in our podcast.
Sure, sure. Well, I imagine pieces of it will come out over time, but the origin of me using Notion for the first time was I was like, what am I? I just turned 46, so I grew up in the 80s as computers were growing up. My dad worked in tech, and so he was always bringing a new computer home that
Oh, that's
was,
cool.
by today's standards, horribles. But like that was, we're like, oh, there goes the weekend. There's a Pentium 1 has just come out. And so that meant that I just always had this sort of like native curiosity about technology and always exploring new things. And I was working for an organization that was using a lot of Atlassian stuff, and they're using Confluence and Jira, and
Jira,
people
yeah.
were whinging about it. This is 2018, so it's a long time ago. And yeah, I didn't have a position of responsibility, so it wasn't my problem to solve, but I started sort of digging around, and I found Notion on Product Hunt a million years ago, and then I just started playing with it. And I think not long after that, databases came out, and so then we went from just sort of wiki pages to, oh, hang on, you can really structure this information. And I wasn't there for very long, but I'd sort of already started playing with the tool, and well, actually my cousin was running a law firm and asked me to come and be the practice manager and run the firm for him.
Wow.
Because I had some sort of experience with business and teams and kind of management stuff, and he was a great lawyer but didn't love the kind of business side of it. And I had this kind of idea that maybe we could use Notion to run the whole thing. And he had this goal to take the firm digital. It was still mostly paper, a little
Wow.
bit Dropbox. And so we built, from the ground up, the kind of operating system of the law firm using Notion. And Notion, it was early days, so it was a bit rough. And there wasn't anywhere near the kind of feature set that we have now. But really, that happened in the second half of 2018. And it was really from that point onwards that I just went deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. And then
Yeah.
eventually that firm actually tripled in size in the first year. And so that brought a bit of attention. And so I had some other firms come and say, hey, can you do for us what you've done for them? And then, yeah, some other businesses did the same. Notion themselves noticed. And so I started getting some kind of opportunities to help other Notion customers. And then COVID happened. And of course, the whole world suddenly had to work out, how do we work together while we're not in the same room?
Yeah, right.
And it just kind of snowballed from there, really. And so, yeah, these days, that's what we do full time.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. I didn't even know that. Oh my goodness. So,
Yeah, right.
speaking of the first customer you helped was a law firm. I'm assuming, based on my assumptions, they have a lot of documents, like a law firm, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
files
yeah.
that you had to move. How hard was that to do it in the early days of Notion?
Yeah, the migration. So we've done a lot of law firms over the years. The migration of that much data into a system is really tricky. Doesn't matter what kind of how you're moving it around.
Yeah,
And
right.
we've taken a few approaches over the years. Sometimes what we did was just build the structure and then say, okay, from this day forward, all new things are going to live in this world, and you end up sort of holding on to both the old and the new. Other times we've said, no, let's try and bring everything across. But I worked with a firm that was 25 years old, so they had like tens of thousands of
Oh my
files.
goodness, yeah.
And so, yeah, we sort of drew a line in the sand. I think we went back 2 or 3 years so that they had some sort of recent historical info. And then it was like, oh, yeah, if that client comes back after 5 years, we'll have to go on. Because they were all still using manila folders with paper in them. And the court system, it was all very... Up until COVID, it was all still done in paper. And so part of the workflow was, get a really good printer that's got a scanner in it, and then come back from court and scan 100 pages, turn them into PDFs, and get them into the Notion world.
Notion.
But
yeah, wow.
there was no way to organize the information before that. It was literally like manila folders and sticky notes and like little colored labels. Those were the only ways to do it.
That's crazy.
And so, yeah. So we built the Notion world kind of around the way that they already thought about it. You know, you'd have clients, and then those clients would have cases of matters. And then, you know, inside that, there'd be different types of documents. And so you can imagine, right, the database structure kind of folding out. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And they're still using it now. They're still all running on that same system, but now it's kind of powered by AI. So it's crazy what they can do now.
Perhaps you might bring them in and talk to them about how they...
I would love to do that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And what was your most favorite thing about running an entire business through Notion? Like, has there been a moment where you're just like, wow, this works? Or like...
Yeah. I think I worked out that what I was really good at was coming alongside people who had a vision and a passion for something and helping them like make that a reality, or make that better than it was, more sustainable, more efficient, more effective. And Notion was just the perfect tool to support people like that.
Yeah.
It's an empowering tool, you know, and so it's not like Notion's casting the vision for what's going to happen. You know, it's like they're already trying to do their best. I mean, these guys worked in child protection, which is a pretty heavy area of law, and you really got to be values driven and you really got to believe in it and steel yourself for it, because it's pretty tough context and content. So to be able to use this digital tool to support people to be able to do their best for kids and families in court,
that's awesome.
That was what made it so meaningful, you know, and that's why I'm sort of obsessed with the use cases, because that's the bit that matters, not the fact that you can stack the blocks together in some cool way, or that it can, even what it can do on its own is nowhere near as interesting as being able to, you know, make a meaningful impact in people's work and worlds.
I love that, Tim. It really warms my heart. It's always that driver of I see from like I'd say successful entrepreneurs is like the ones that really connect to the why of what they're doing things, and I'm sure that's been keeping you through these years. You know, I just tripped me out how you just said 2018 was so long ago. I was like, in my head when you said that, I was like, 2018 feels like yesterday. You know,
oh man. Well, think about it in AI years.
Oh my goodness,
it's a long time.
Yeah.
We were just talking about AI and, you know, setting it up and whatever. I ran a webinar a little while ago about how to set up your personalized instructions with a template for people. So we'll put the link to that in the show notes, so that if you haven't already got your AI set up and running exactly as you want it, then that'll give you a whole bunch of insights about how you might do that.
Yeah, nice. And is that a pre-recording? Like, can they also check that out?
Yeah, so there's a recording of the webinar, and then there's a template that is like a instructions template, and you'll sort of work your way through it and fill it out, and it'll help you get your own personalized AI instructions up and running.
Guys, if you did enjoy this episode and you want to hear more, please smash that like button, #YouTube67. And also leave us a review on Spotify or Apple, whatever you guys are listening to us on, and give us some feedback. How did we go? Like, this is our first jumping into the ocean moment for us in terms of something like this. So if you enjoyed certain aspects, we'd really like to hear it.
Absolutely. Cool. Thanks, Jerwin.
Thanks, Tim, and thank you guys. We'll see you guys in the next episode.